I'm very happy to welcome you to our third live stream during our side event, which takes place within the new European Bauhaus Festival, the first time ever in Brussels, but also throughout the whole EU, also here in Saxony-Anhalt. And I'm very happy to have guests here from the consortium that is here working on the new European Bauhaus initiative. So I'm very happy to welcome Ines from the city of Zeitz. Zeitz is one of the main venues that is looked at during the initiative at the moment. Then Mr. Kirmayr from Fraunhofer Allianz Bau, he's managing director there. Tabea Frauenlob from the City of Future office in Zeitz, if I translate it like that. And then Barbara Steiner, director of the Stiftung Bauhaus Dessau. I'm very happy that you are here and to discuss our third topic of the day, materials of the future. We are here in the Bauhaus Museum, and I would like to start with Ms. Will on the topic structural change, which is very taking place in Zeitz at the moment, and also the connection to the new European Bauhaus.
Yes, thank you. I want to speak about some facts you heard already in this morning by Mr. Niebergall, but I think it's very important to speak about some facts about our city, because the history is very important for decisions for the future. And so I will say Zeitz is a city in the south of Saxony-Anhalt with an important industrial history. We were an international location of industry, but today the lignite company Miprak has its headquarters in Zeitz, and that means that the region, also the city of Zeitz, is very affected by the structural change. When in 1989 the Berlin Wall was fall, there was a big deindustrialization and unemployment. Some people, or the life situation of some peoples changed overnight. They were very hopeless. And that means this situation was a structural break, not a change. Yes, that's why the consequences were migration and urban planning deficits that are still visible today. Although the city has achieved a lot, both in terms of urban planning and economic development, but the majority of the population, which is aging more and more, still feels hopeless and only a little optimistic. We, the municipality of Zeitz, see the structural change that we are already going through as a result of the European Union's Green Deal, and also the decision of the federal German government to phase out liquid fire-powered generation as an opportunity for sustainable change in the region. The prerequisite for our success is, on the one hand, that change is not only economically and ecologically, also social, but it's very important that the cultural change will come, and we need it. The topic of industrial culture will become more and more important for our work in the city of Zeitz. On the other hand, it requires the interaction of different actors who make it possible to work together on future-oriented and sustainable solutions. The city of Zeitz is therefore a partner of the Saxony-Anhalt network in order to develop and connect interdisciplinary approaches with a wide variety of partners. We do not see sustainable economic development separated from urban development. In order to cope with the enormous challenges, the administration has set up professional support through a project office called Stadt der Zukunft Zeitz. 5 employees of SALEX, Sachsen-Anhaltinische Landesentwicklungsgesellschaft, develop projects, advise and implement them. Above all, however, it's always about participation, communication and public relations. We are on the right track and are now setting the course for future development. And so I think it's good for you to hear what we have done with the Projektbüro Stadt der Zukunft Zeitz. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Will. And we have actually Tabea Frauenlob from the City of Future office, Stadt der Zukunft Zeitz. Here, just tell us, how does it feel to work in such a project office that is only focusing on structural change?
Yeah, thank you for the question and the invitation. Yeah, we are very honored to run such a project office that is only focused on the structural change. As SALEC, as a state development cooperative, we do this work for already 30 years now in the country, so all my colleagues have many years of expertise in the structural change, because there has been the structural change 30 years ago, as we heard already. And during all these years, the region developed and many things had to be changed. So there's a deep knowledge of what does transformation actually mean, and how can we lead there through, and what is the experience of this time, that transformation is not always a word that people like. We know that from our private lives. To change old patterns is sometimes really, really hard. So it's pretty much about reaching the hand to work with the people and to talk to them and to talk about the fears, because it's not always easy to change things that we know. So it's really pretty much about communication, talking with people, not only telling what we do, but also asking, what do you feel and what do you need? So that's one core part. So in Zeitz, for example, we established a website to every week reach out to the people to tell, that's the steps we take. This is a funding that we ask for in the moment. That's a project we work on. That's very important. At the same time, yeah, it's very interesting and inspiring, and to see there's many ideas already in the ground, and we only need to dig to find the ideas and to hear, to listen. Where can it lead to? For example, we have one very active citizen in Zeitz who made like an overview. What can creative people actually bring to a place, and how much Kreativwirtschaft, what is the translation? Creative economy can actually bring us income. And we were very surprised how much that can impact a region, the creative economy. So there's many ways to go, and still it's a work that is very down to earth and grounded. Yeah.
And I mean, it's really a microcosmos, no? Because you have Zeitz as a city of 30,000 inhabitants, 20 to 30, 30,000.
29.
And so you see what happens, and you know a lot of the actors, for instance, and you can see how it develops. No, I mean that's quite interesting. Any comments so far from the rest on what was said? Otherwise, I would like to give the word to Herr Kirmayr. Maybe you tell us, first of all, what the Allianz Bau is doing Fraunhofer. I mean, we had guests from Fraunhofer already, and we learned Fraunhofer is so broad. So maybe you just tell us what exactly you do.
Yes, so as you already said, it's a huge organization. So we have 75 institutes all dealing with very different topics. And therefore, for us, it makes a lot of sense to bundle all the expertise and knowledge in terms of construction work. So that's my job, to bring that together, because we see it's a lot of interdisciplinary questions, problems to be solved. And so we see that it's more and more important, as well as you described it, to work in networks, to get in touch and in communication with other disciplines. So we see that the problems and the transformation we need to do in the upcoming years is something which couldn't just be answered by the classical building topics. So we need IT topics, we need a combination with mobility. We have a lot about energy, how to get it, how to transport and bring it to the houses or use it from the houses. And so things are getting more and more together, and therefore we see the need that there needs to be more communication over the different topics and disciplines. And that's the main job I try to address in the Allianz.
Okay, okay. I mean, the New European Bauhaus started pretty much with the idea, okay, we have a huge CO2 consumption in construction, one of the biggest besides mobility, and we have to tackle it. And the Bauhaus can serve as an idea to develop that to a more sustainable path, so sustainability as one of the key elements besides aesthetics and inclusion. And from your perspective, how would like a sustainable construction sector look like? I mean, we know that it has to be circular. We know that we have to develop new materials that we use for building. So what is, I mean, Fraunhofer is kind of a think tank, no? And the new ideas and applied science is practiced. So what directions are visible already?
Well, I would say that in terms of sustainability, we all know for a long term, I think what needs to be done. It's more a question about doing it. And I think that always depends on drivers, which need to be strong enough to really get into a change. If you don't have enough or strong drivers, nothing will happen. So we know about the environmental impacts. For decades, we know that it is too much and it should be less. But we are down to a 1% renovation rate for years, and if we go on like that, we know that we fail
like
in the targets. Yeah.
You mean for all buildings?
For all buildings. Yeah. So for renovation, we need to be at a 3 to 4% renovation rate at the moment to match with the climate targets, and so we see that it's a question about having strong enough drivers to bring people to really perform the change. So I think it's less a topic of solutions. So I think we have as well solutions, but it's more the implementation topic. Yeah, bringing the people into the right thinking. We discuss a lot about participation and say there is a lot possible on the technical side. Yeah? So we know that we need to get to a circular economy, but if we want to answer the question, what is that, then we see that it's a huge topic. Yeah. So it's not easy to just change a material from today to tomorrow because it's just need a little bit more energy maybe, so to reduce it. So so a lot of capital as well and money is allocated, and so it need to be shifted. And so we need a broad initiative, I think, another mindset, and I think therefore the new European Bauhaus is exactly the right thing, because it's in the right time, the drivers are strong enough, we know that we need to change something now, and bringing this together with this idea that it's not done in the institutes, yeah, so we need to do a lot, but we need much more people making their minds up, young people thinking about new opportunities, and I think now we are living in a time where you could realize these things. So this is the very interesting thing, I think. Yeah? In the past, you could create elsewhere something. It might be interesting, but now I think it's the time for implementation. It's time to create something and realize it, and I think that's a very important thing. Yeah.
I would like to add something. For sure. Isn't it strange that there are so many great ideas, but a lot of them fail before they get implemented? Because that's exactly what you're addressing. You're talking about systemic issues. Because there is an enormous awareness, and there's a rising awareness that we should not continue to waste the resources as we do. But there is the building industry and there are other, well, logics still. And it's another priority. And you also mentioned economy as a driving force. And I'm semi-optimistic because there's a lot of lobby work done. There has to be also a lot done in the field of, so we need a legal basis for all that, and I do not see where this is heading to. And it's good to involve people, and that's the great thing with the new European Bauhaus, and I love our project because that's the first step. But I see that there are a lot of things which have an enormous impact on what we aim at doing, and I think that's something, it's still in the background. It's a kind of blind spot, so to speak.
Yes, for sure. But I think that at the moment, it's really changing at the customer side. So this is different. So we had a lot of pressure in the own market, and I think there it's easy to block things and to say, no, it's not today, tomorrow. But now we see at the very beginning of building projects that it's really getting an issue. You can't really sell a new flat when you not have a very high-ranked co-profile. So they already started asking for that, and therefore I think these two things come together. We have economical impact and ecological. So our targets are matching more and more with the economic ones, and therefore this is essential. Otherwise, we see, yeah, we could have done a lot of things 20 years ago already, but today I think it's as well a commercial topic, it's as well an economic topic, and therefore I think we will see more of this transformation, and I'm very happy that it's getting the right direction. So we have a lot of crises now. It might turn us around to skip things which are very important because we need to do this and that now. Yeah. But it's not that way. It's even stronger. We see with all the crises we have around, it's even stronger to go for that transition, and therefore it's perfect. And I think for our project here, especially, and for our role, it's very interesting because we see our role as a research organization inside this project more as a supporting one. So we want to get into participation. We want to get the ideas from the region. When we're talking about circular economy, we're talking about small distances. Yeah, looking what do we have here. Yeah, I think these narratives that everything is available and limitless and very cheap is away at the moment, and it helps us to look around and see, oh, is there some new materials maybe we could find inside the buildings we need to rebuild. What are the local resources we could use? And this is the topics we want to address in the project as well, to get an idea about what do we have here, to get deeper into the region and the possibilities, grabbing for the ideas and the activities of the region and the people living here, and bringing that together with our possible solutions and options we could provide and discuss with them, bringing us then in a process which is very good in realization, but as well has a very high level of being committed to that target. It's not something just coming. If we just produce solutions, it might be nice for us, but it has no fixing here. So I think the other way around is very interesting. And so we see us as more as a supporter, help these peoples to innovate and to create. And therefore, I think this laboratory, which is planned at the university, is perfect. So we could bring together this analysis about what do we have here, what are the options, together with creativity and with our support, as well IT-based support, to really create new solutions. And I think that's a very, very, very interesting and a very...
Ideally, and there is a force coming in which really pushes politicians to decide, or their customers you mentioned. I mean, that's the great thing, because that's a power as well. So that's why I say I'm semi-optimistic. But even within our group, we have debates what to build, how to build, and it's always about building. So do we have to build? And so these are very substantial questions, and when I'm looking around in the small and the bigger towns, in the metropolis, the building industry, I mean, it's like crazy. There are a lot of projects, I mean, everywhere, and I'm not sure if this is going to the direction you are mentioning, and I hope you are right.
I just learned this week that the German government, looking at the new European Bauhaus initiative, is really looking at renovation. So this is their main topic. So it goes into the right direction, let's say. But you also mentioned like technical solutions. How can materials used from Zeitz, for instance? So how would this look like in practice, in detail? How like you have parts, for instance, like a material database. How does this
I think
work?
this more information-based things is a basic work that if you don't know what you have, you can't create something. So we need to know what we have, what is available at what scale, and what effort. Yeah. So just turning something down is not having the material in a shape that you could reuse it. Yeah, so there is a lot of processual things in between which need to be looked into to really create a resource again, a material resource again. And then there are a lot of steps to go. It's not just the idea and the solution, it's as well the permittance. Yeah? At the moment there is a lot of, you have a lot of opportunities for creating recycling materials and implementation, but it's not allowed to use them. So it's as well a regulatory thing which need to be changed very quickly, and to open up these solutions to the market as well. And at least, yes, there is a lot of technical solutions as well necessary, but for example, for concrete, we have a perfect solution for 3 years now. We proved that it's really working out. We could really recreate even better material. It's an upcycling at a very low energy level, so a very good solution which is technically possible but needs to be just get the step to the industrial level. So I would say we have opportunities. There are a lot of opportunities already available, but we need to get them into the real scale and start doing it.
I mean, during our pilot phase, we also talked about sugar as building material, because sugar is very implemented in the Zeitz area for years, but also bricks. I mean, half of Zeitz is made of bricks, more or less, and to redevelop these kind of materials could make sense. And then also in terms of crafts, no? I mean, we saw it by the examples of the students of the University of Applied Science here at the Hochschule-Anhalt, that kind of use the materials from there, but also the craft. No? Well, what was your when you see the ideas of the students? What, as a practitioner, let's say, well, what is your impression? Like, do you think it's too much conceptual, or?
Yes, I think that's normal in the first step, that if you want to have a really good solution, you need hundreds of ideas first. Yeah? So it's very important to give this freedom of starting with a very creative work. Many people always think that it's just something you create innovation. It's not possible. So you need hundreds, even thousands of good ideas to even end up with really something which is really what we are talking about. So I think that's very good. So it's not good to limit that down in the first step. So it could be crazy, even crazier things are very important at the very beginning. And then we see what is feasible and what is more tangible to get it quicker, maybe to a real implementation. But I think we are at a turning point. So we need more thinking about the basic things, as you said. Yeah, are we building? How do we do that? What are the shapes? Is it needs to be so solid or not? Or a lot of questions. Yeah, where we all just followed as we already did it the past years. So for future, I think we need to have more questions. And in the very beginning, I think it's very important that it's very broad in the opportunities and not too much limited.
Talking about participation, I mean, we have solutions discussed in the consortium, in the initiative from virtual reality, where some of your colleagues from Fraunhofer have some very good competencies. But Tabea, you work with insights, you know, I think you do communication and participation as well. What's your impression? Like, we have these fancy tools with virtual reality and all of that, so is this really going to be adopted? You know the people from Zeitz a little bit already. Maybe Ms. Will can add as well.
Yeah, thank you for the question. There's not the one Zeitz people. Like, there's the people who live in Zeitz for a very long time, and then I think over the past 10 years maybe, there's many new people coming as well. So there is already, especially amongst these new citizens of Zeitz, a knowledge about this beautiful, sustainable together. They already live it. There's a community really working on these goals already. And again, I think in the last years that I'm in Zeitz, I've seen several people coming, very familiar with these ideas. On the other hand, we have the Zeitz people who are also interested. I've seen them in the exhibition that the students have shown in Zeitz. It was really nice to get the feedback as well, to see the people are interested and, oh wow, that could be the way it looks like in the future. And so there was a lot of interest. At the same time, as I already said, change is not always something we like, and people are still in this rupture of the 90s. There's a lot of wounds. I think they're not healed yet. So there's many people who might not be so easily be catched.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think that this is a very important, but as well not an easy thing, especially for our topics. Maybe if you think about creating new solutions, materials, construction solutions, then to implement the people which are not experts in that field. So I think this is a task, which is very important. But we always see when you make the right surrounding and the right opportunities, or give the right opportunities, they have the other ideas sometimes. So it's very important, and I think construction is always something where you always find people having expertise, everywhere. Because there is no area where there is no one knowing about how to build houses or making installation work or digging for materials. So I think there is a potential of people having a deep knowledge. And I think what we as well see at the moment, and this is very interesting, we look for a lot of solutions in the past now. Because we look into times where energy was not available, but still a very high-level construction work was possible. So we try to rebuild these things. And our experts already manage some of them, not everything, but sometimes they really have the solution, but they don't know why it works. But 1,000 years ago it worked. So I think this is as well something where you could as well have a huge potential about people, elderly people maybe, thinking about the times where it's not limitless, and there was solutions and they're fitting to the region. And I think this is a little bit it seems to be a step back, but it could be the step forward.
Yeah, there I would really like to add, I like this idea, and I have it often as well, especially in rural areas and not so super urban areas. People have a much stronger connection to traditions and to sustainable solutions, actually, and to help themselves and to be creative and to live solidarity. In cities we are very anonymous and everyone does it. I buy everything I need, and in a rural area or in smaller cities, we have this connectedness of people, and that's what can really bring up sustainable solutions, to share resources instead of everyone has the resource on its own. And so there's a lot of deep knowledge still in the area, also about starting with growing vegetables. It might seem banal, but it can impact the world if we all go back to these roots and remember the knowledge we have.
Yeah, you're right. But in my experience, the ideas of how to do things can be still very different. So, and that's a matter of how do you address people, how do they feel, how do they get trust in what's going on, and not how do they not feel used for something they do not really know what will be the outcome or what's the impact. That's the problem we had with discussing the laboratory. If you feel you're part of the laboratory, are you then the subject? Are you the ones? Are you the actor, or are you the object? Are you the object under examination? So, and I think there's a lot of, I mean, the past years are very relevant regarding this trust and how can you get people involved, not for just one event or one project. How can you really build up something, which is a much longer process and cannot be done within 1 or 2 or 3 years. And it needs continuity. And that's when we started from the Bauhaus Foundation side, we also wanted to know how do people look at Zeitz? How do they perceive their city? And that was really interesting because most of them, they considered the vacancies and the ruins in the street as a burden. They could not imagine. So we are also talking about a lack of imagination. They could not imagine what to do with that. And there is a connection to the GDR, because in the GDR, because of shortage of material, people were they were skilled, they could really improvise, organize. So there is a link to things which have been practiced. But if one gets told, okay, this is not what we want anymore. So we are, I mean, the project is in a particular context, and this is a context, these are since the 90s. And the changes, I think they also had an impact on how can you get people on board, how can you motivate them, how do they really feel encouraged to participate, or do they just do their things? And how can you really get or spread the idea, let's do it together, the collective approach? And not the single one, having my house, my garden, my family. So I think also there's a lack of collectivity. And that's the great thing with our project, because it's really working also on establishing certain sense for collectivity.
Yes, that's right. It's right what you said. But think about more than half of the inhabitants in Zeitz are older than 60 years. It's very old, and they look back to GDR, for instance, also, and they are not often for new ideas, for new development, and that's why we see. I can see, and I can recognize a development in Zeitz. Young people, older than 20, younger than 50, are recognizing that we will change, we must change, and we will develop our region. And they come to us and they work with us. It's a very good signal. And we have to work. We have to work for this, to come together and work with them together, and that's why we decided to install this project office, Stadt der Zukunft Zeitz, and the communication and participation is very, very, very important for us. And we must work further and further, yes.
I think we really learned that the way how to communicate is really very essential. I think it's not just the content; it's as well always how to transfer this information. And I think there we could find and see a link as well to new technology. So you talked about that there is a lack of imagination, and we could solve that today by giving pictures. But our question is, what is the right picture to give them? Yeah, what is the but we could try out where the people see and have a good feeling about it and say, oh, this should be our tomorrow. And so it's not working out from its alone. So we need to do something for that. We need to provide and give solutions so that they get an imagination, and then they could decide and say, oh, this is perfect, or this is not what I intended. And so I think this would be the difference, I think, to get into this participation and this interaction, and to find out the right solutions by providing solutions and showing them, using new technology as well, and hopefully then to get a kind of a situation where they really say, yes, this is what it should look like, and where we are really as well part of it at the end.
There's only one problem with pictures. They define already what direction we are heading to. And that's why I would propose that we should think of tools which are able to empower imagination. So not the imagination, but the tools which allow different kinds of imagination. And that's what the Bauhaus project is actually also about, the Bauhaus agents. It starts at the schools. And that's where you can really, there's a certain, exercises in terms of experiments, and really not to go for the one, but probably for the many. And then there is a debate going on. What do we really want? And that establishes also collectivity again. And we agree. That's what we are doing. In small, that's our project all about.
That's true. Yeah.
And at the same time, I absolutely agree to what you say and to what you said before about how do we get a continuity in this process. Because in Zeitz, people have asked in the last 2 years, they've been asked 100 times, what is your vision? What is your idea? And people get tired of being asked all the time without seeing a result. So that is, I think, for us, the biggest challenge for the next time to really acknowledge this participation. People have sent their ideas. They have been participating many times. So now what do we do with this information, and how do we process it, and how can it really get into results? First, we need this, changing the culture and getting a culture of discussion and collecting the ideas. But now, how can we really honor that people participate? And there I'll be very happy about more inspiration also from projects in the EU. How do others do it? How can we be fair as well? Not only asking, but then establishing something for us.
I mean, one part of the European Bauhaus initiative from the EU side is to put, as they call them, lighthouse demonstrators into the countries. So to let the UFO, as we talk about a lot, land in the first place, and then maybe have an iterative process as well. No? So have a stimulus as well that people can decide on, based maybe on imagination in the first place, so giving them the tools, but then also see, okay, are we close? Are we not that close? So probably, I mean, that's part of the strategy of the EU as well. Also, when it comes to financing, you mentioned it before. So, of course, in the first place, it's public financing, but it should follow the private financing as well.
But I think, especially to the lighthouses, I think it's very important, and that it's not just solution again. Yeah. So we want to see something about the process. Yeah. So we're turning to solutions and say these are these 5 or 4, and you could say it's good, or I like it, or I don't like it. But that's not the question. The question is before creating the solution. And so we're discussing a lot about what is the right process to get to the solution. And I think this is something which is missing a little bit, I think, so far. Yeah? That we are just running through very quickly to this debate and discussing phase, which everyone wants to go to a solution quick, but I think in that time we are now and having so much different and new things to address. I think it's very important to give the room to this discussion and creating the right ideas and throwing them away and discussing again and getting impulses and really to address very specific this process about coming to solutions.
Yes.
And I think that's very essential, and this is what we are missing a little bit so far.
Thomas, I fully agree. I think we are talking about processes and end up with solutions, and this is a problem. If the project is heading to this, then we would fail. But I also like to fail, because if we fail and we can get some findings from this, wonderful. But I think there are so many good things in this project, and there is an awareness about the dangers, because we all do not know, and we all do not know, I mean, how long it will take, but for sure we are very committed to this project, and we know it will take a long time. And obviously the office, the future office, is also on this side, that you don't expect a light tower or a demonstrator within the next some years, because then the project would be reduced to that. And we have always conceived it as a series of prototypes. Prototype thinking means that there is something in development, it's not done, and it will be implemented, adapted, and changes. So there is the process already in this, that there are constant changes possible whenever they are necessary.
So as we come to an end now of this third session here in Dessau, before switching to Ferropolis, I would like to know what your vision, your wish maybe is for the initiative itself to go. Maybe Ms. Will can start to tell us what she like to see in some time with the initiative, where it's going.
But, I only can say I'm very glad that we are in this project, a partner, because it's a very new task for us in our municipality. Also the language, sorry.
Just for today.
For my language, yes. But I know networking is very, very important, and I'm looking forward good results because of the combination of different
disciplines.
Disciplines, genau.
Yeah,
Yes, that's very important, and I'm so glad that we have an area, the old Sekiva factory and the area around the factory, and I hope we will see us in 5 or 6 or 7 years, and we can look how nice is this project.
What developed, how it's shaped by the people of Zeitz, no? In the end.
Yes.
So, any more last statements?
I would say that this is a very special opportunity, because we have a city which really likes to do something. We have organizations with having, so I think the commitment is the most valuable thing for the moment, and really to do something and to use this opportunity. There needs to be done something, and we want to do it in a good way and in this participatory way. And I think this is very encouraging, and therefore I think I would see that for sure we will see solutions. And I think, as you said, it's very important to get the right balance in between this discussion phases and implementation. Yeah, so people need to see something tangible, and if there are samples to sort out and try out. But I think if we get into this movement, and this is most important, that we really start doing it. And I think it's a perfect team. It's a good thinking about these opportunities, and therefore I'm sure that we will see very good solutions in the next upcoming years.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm very curious, or we are very curious, how this expertise will develop as well and bring paths of development in an ecological, economical, and social, as well as social development, what it can bring. And I think what touched me, what you said, it's really about the path. How is the path and how is the process? That this is very important aspect for the years to come, and that the process is already the goal. At the same time, we need these milestones.
And also because it's something you can transfer, no? I mean, the solution you can transfer because the conditions are different, but you can use the process maybe and the things that were learned on the way.
Yeah.
Ms. Steiner, your last
Yeah,
remarks.
I think that things should be done, for sure. People expect that we do things, but it depends a lot on what we do and how temporarily we look at those things, that it's not fixed forever, that it allows changes, it allows adaptation. I think the time is gone to come up with something and to think this will be there forever. So it's a more fluid approach and a more fluid also practice we are heading to, and that's what I hope will happen.
Yeah. So we are at the end of our live session. I thank you very much, the guests, especially Ms. Steiner, for hosting us basically in Dessau. During the time, we will now move to Ferropolis, also with the people of Zeitz. There, the Melt Festival is actually taking place as well, so we will have some festival atmosphere, but for sure we will come back here to Dessau and talk more about the initiative and the project itself. So thank you very much and see you soon.